Hello, it's Laura. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something many English learners think about quietly, something people feel, but don't always know how to explain. How to sound natural in English. Not perfect, not advanced, just natural. If you've ever listened to native speakers and thought, they sound so relaxed, why does my English sound different? You're not alone. Many learners feel this way, and today, let's talk about it calmly, honestly, without pressure. First, we need to understand something very important. Sounding natural in English is not about speaking fast. It's not about using difficult words. And it's definitely not about having no accent. Natural English is about flow. Flow means how words move together, how sentences feel, not how they look on paper. You can have simple English and still sound natural, and you can have advanced English and still sound tense. Natural English starts inside the body. If you feel nervous, your English feels tight. If you feel relaxed, your English feels easier. So before we talk about words, let's talk about feeling. Many people try to sound natural by forcing themselves. They push, they overthink, they translate in their head. That pressure actually makes English harder. Natural speech doesn't come from force. It comes from comfort. Here's a word to remember. Comfortable. Comfortable means feeling okay being yourself, not pretending, not performing. When you speak your first language, you don't think much. You just speak. In English, learners often think too much. They think about grammar. They think about mistakes. They think about how they sound. That thinking interrupts flow. So one of the first steps to sounding natural is allowing yourself to sound imperfect. Mistakes don't stop naturalness. Tension does. Now let's talk about something very common. Many learners say, I know English, but I don't sound natural. That usually means one thing. They learned English from books or from rules, not from real listening. Natural English lives in listening. Listening teaches rhythm. Listening teaches pauses. Listening teaches emotion. That's why podcasts help so much. When you listen often, your brain slowly copies patterns. Not consciously, naturally. You don't need to memorize phrases. You need exposure. Exposure means hearing English again and again in real situations. Now, let's talk about speed. Many learners think natural English is fast. But that's not true. Natural English changes speed. Sometimes people speak quickly, sometimes slowly, sometimes softly. Natural English breathes. You don't need to rush. In fact, speaking too fast often sounds less natural. Natural speakers pause. They stop. They think. And that's okay. Silence is part of natural speech. If you pause while speaking English, you're not failing. You're human. Now let's talk about tone. Tone is how your voice feels. Natural English uses emotion, not strong emotion, but gentle emotion, curiosity, interest, cone. When you speak like a robot, English sounds unnatural. When you speak like a person, English sounds alive. Even simple sentences can sound natural when spoken warmly. Yeah, I think so. That sounds nice. I'm not sure. These are small sentences, but they feel real. Another word that matters here is relaxed. Relaxed speech flows better. If you want to sound natural, slow your body first. Relax your shoulders. Breathe. Your voice follows your body. Now let's talk about accents. This is very important. An accent does not make English unnatural. Every English speaker has an accent. Every single one. British, American, Australian, Indian, African, European. All accents are natural. What matters is clarity. Clear English sounds natural. Even with an accent, you don't need to erase who you are. Your accent is part of your story. Natural English is not copying someone else perfectly. It's expressing yourself clearly. Now let's talk about thinking in English. Many learners translate in their head. They think in their language. then convert to English, that process is slow and it breaks flow. You don't need to stop translating completely. That takes time, but you can reduce it. How? By using familiar phrases. Phrases you hear often. For example, I think, I feel like, I'm not sure, but these phrases start sentences naturally. When your brain knows how a sentence begins, it feels easier to continue. Another word here is familiar. Familiar English feels safe. That's why repetition helps. Hearing the same patterns again and again makes them familiar, and familiar English sounds natural. Now let's talk about everyday language. Natural English is simple. Native speakers don't use fancy words all the time. They use easy words. In a relaxed way, instead of saying, I am experiencing fatigue, people say, I'm tired, instead of, I am extremely pleased. They say, I'm really happy. Simple words. Real life. That simplicity is natural. If you try to sound smart, English often sounds stiff. Natural English prefers ease over complexity. Another useful word is flow. Flow is when words move without force. You don't stop after every word. You don't stress every sentence. You let language move. Flow comes from listening more than speaking. That's why you're doing the right thing by listening now. Now, let's talk about mistakes one more time, because fear of mistakes is the biggest block. Mistakes don't make English unnatural. Overcorrecting yourself does. When you stop mid-sentence to fix grammar, flow breaks. It's okay to finish the sentence imperfectly. Communication matters more than correctness. People understand meaning, even with small errors. Natural English is not perfect English. You're talking to someone. You say something small, maybe not perfect. They understand. They respond. The conversation continues. That's success. That's natural. You don't need applause. You don't need approval. If the message passes, English is working. Another important word here is confidence. Confidence grows from experience, not from thinking. Every conversation you have adds to confidence, even quiet ones, even short ones. Now let's slow down again. Sounding natural is a journey, not a destination. Some days you'll sound smooth. Some days you won't. That's normal. Native speakers have bad days too. The goal is not to be perfect every time. The goal is to feel more ease over time, and ease comes from kindness toward yourself. You are learning. You are growing. You're allowed to take time. And you're already doing something important. You're listening.